Right, you're welcome to our newspaper review for this morning. We have a guest to help us look at some of our national dailies and, of course, review. We have in the studio this morning Honorable Chode Ofodile. Honorable Chode Ofodile is a former member of the Federal House of Representatives. He is an author and also a lawyer. Honorable, we are glad to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you for the first time in our studio.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
You're welcome.
All right, we have so many papers to look at, but we begin with stories trending on ABS website. The first story we have there says, NYSC commends Anambra on security of core members. Anambra government outlaws sand excavation at Ibolo or Ifite. And of course, Southeast governors reject land donation for ranching to stop movement of cattle in the region. Where do you begin?
Well, let's start with the first one, the NYSC, Anambra, and the NYSC security of core members. Well, I think that one of the major issues, or the major factor that helped the re-election of Governor Obiano actually was his, and has been, his consistent security initiative in the state, and he's been able to ensure that the state is secure. So if that also applies to the NYSC members, it's a very commendable development. So the second one,
Outlaw sand excavation at
Ibolo Orifite. Yeah, I don't know exactly the location at Ibolo Orifite, even though I know Orifite very well. But whatever affects the environment, it's something that any responsible government will pay close attention to. So if they've outlawed that, there must have been clear evidence of impairment of the environment, and then of course that's also a commendable move, for that. And then finally, is the
Southeast governor standing up against the
very,
ranching.
very interesting issue, ranching, herdsmen, farmers clash. That's the trending issue in Nigeria, number one topic in Nigeria today. If anybody who understands the history of this country, and even before pre-colonial times, colonial, and then the post-colonial era, will understand that there's a difference between external colonization and internal one.
Yes.
And so it's a sensitive issue, and even though ranching may be an option in an attempt to resolve the crisis between the herdsmen and the farmers, but being a sensitive issue, every region is free to adopt, the best strategy to deal with those issues. So for the governors to reject ranching, it's in accord with the sentiment on ground today, and I think that's the best thing for them to do for now.
All right, away from ABS website, now we move to our papers, our national dailies. The first one we're taking is the
It's a Daily Sun. Meanwhile, our phone lines are up. We can make contributions by using the phone lines on the screen. The Daily Sun, there we have Southeast governors reject ranching in zone. Well, we've talked about that now. The banner headline there say, RAPC, renewed APC,
reformed
reformed APC, perfect MOU with PDP. We are not bothered, said APC chairman. Down there we have planes for national carrier expected in December. How ex-Ondo deputy governor's daughter was found dead in boyfriend's house. Police deployed 30,000 personnel regarding a Kitty Guba election, with the rider PDP accuses APC of rigging plot. It's not true. APC defending. Let's start with the banner headline, RAPC perfects MOU with PDP. And the APC chairman is saying they are not bothered.
Well, that's what I expect the APC chairman to say, that he's not bothered or that APC is not bothered. But the truth of the matter is that there's a major crack in the APC. And the interesting thing is that it's like history repeating itself. This exact scenario played out in 2015.
When had the new PDP.
When the new PDP, which is now, add or subtract one or two characters, it's now the reformed APC. So it was extremely difficult for APC, which was hurriedly put together in 2015 to oust the government of President Jonathan and the PDP, to achieve some good measure of cohesion. Now, if they had achieved that, it would have been difficult to have this kind of situation right now.
Correct.
And now also what compounded the lack of cohesion of the APC clearly was the difficulty of APC in governance. Some people would argue that they had no real experience in governance, haven't been in opposition for a long time. So the opportunity to be in government exposed, their, deficiencies somewhat. Now that, compounded their lack of ability to cohere. And then that's what we have today in this reformed APC.
Okay, I think we have to look at this story. Police deploying 30,000 personnel for Ekiti state governorship election.
And the PDP accusing APC of rigging plot.
Yeah, that's normal. In any build-up to the election, parties make allegations and counter-allegations. And then if the police they decided to deploy 30,000 policemen to monitor or police the environment for the election, to ensure ensure neutrality, and then, of course, to ensure a free, fair outcome, then that's commendable. But if the deployment is to, intimidate the electorate, then it becomes an issue. But I think we must give the police the benefit of the doubt that they are engaged in, just trying to make sure that people go about, cast their votes and, we have the results announced.
All right, in case you're watching, we have numbers on the screen that you can call and ask any question or make your contribution on the topics we are bringing out from the national dailies today. We're moving over to the Punch newspapers right away. We have so many stories here, and of course clips. I think we have clips of on the front page. We begin with the banner headlines you have there. We won't donate land for ranching, says the South 8 governors. I think we've seen that in the ABS website. Moving down, we have for young Thai footballers rescued from cave. I think that's the clips we are seeing in front of that Punch newspapers. Up here we have we have evidence of politicians' involvement in killings. That's coming from the presidency. And we've seen Ekiti polls. Down here we have crisis. APC drags Galadima others to court. An ex-Ondo deputy governor's daughter found dead in boyfriend's room with riders. Okay, let's pick this one. Crisis. APC drags Galadima others to court. Let's begin from that.
I thought while we were reviewing I think it was Sun newspaper that we were reviewing, where the APC chairman, said that he wasn't worried about the.
Is he speaking from both mouths now?
That appears to be the case. Now, if in one breath, he's not bothered, in another breath, they're dragging Buba Galadima to court, then it shows that somebody somewhere is having serious...
I think let's see who is on the line before we move on.
Hello. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, your name and your location, please.
Yeah, good morning, Honorable Authority.
Good morning.
Your name, please, and your location.
This is Sunday calling from Awada.
Okay, Sunday calling from Awada.
Yes, I want to make a contribution on the ABS and the Southeast Christian branch, whatever.
All right, go ahead.
Our governor said that because the country now.
Please, amplify your voice, please, for us to hear you clearly.
Hello, this is in the present state of the country to be seen or look at beyond ordinary business or keeping ourselves together while part of the country are trying to undue advantage on the other regions of the country. So I am of the opinion that the Southeast government should take their time on not even any portion of our land to the north, to the east, so that they will not get their definite act in this country.
Okay,
All right,
thank you very
much. I think we have to take this story before we run. The presidency is saying they have evidence of politicians involved in killings in the country. What's your take on that?
Why are they announcing to us that they have evidence? What they need to do is to arrest these people. This matter is so important and sensitive that there's no need for theatrics. If you have evidence, pick them up and we'll know who the people
Action is required.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, moving ahead, we have the Daily Times to review.
Yeah, the Daily Times, the banner headline said, PDP, 44 other parties in alliance for 2019 polls, with the rider hold crucial meeting in Abuja today for modalities. Secondus meets PDP presidential aspirants, governors, others. The other one down there, we won't give our land for ranching. Okay, we've talked about that. Former deputy governor's daughter found dead in boyfriend's house. This thing is appearing in almost all the papers. Okay, let's take
this business. External reserve hit $47.8 billion in June.
Let's take
let's take that news first. External reserve.
No, that's interesting numbers because if the external reserves is rising, it shows that basically what it means is that it guarantees Nigeria's export and capabilities, for a stretch of period. We could do some transactions up to some time. But that in itself is not a clear indication of the buoyancy of the economy, because when you look at the external reserves rising, which is positive, but if you look at internal debt and the borrowing of government, which runs into trillions of naira now, and so you see that it creates also problems in the economy. So while that is a positive development, but we need to, look at other indices to be able to understand the real state of the economy.
All right. I think 2019 is getting more interesting.
More interesting. 44 political parties aligning themselves with PDP for the polls.
Well,
is it interesting?
That's. I think that PDP is the main political party there, and then the reformed APC.
It's also there.
So the others, I keep wondering if these, let's say 42 others, they don't have a member of the House of Assembly in any state, they don't have councillors, they don't, some of them are parties simply by name. So let's not get carried away, with those numbers. Yes.
All right, let's run. We have the
former daughter of governor's, former deputy governor's daughter found dead in boyfriend's house. Is it not funny?
I'm surprised that kind of story makes the headlines. Yes, I mean, why is it an issue? Because it's the former deputy governor's daughter. It would have made more sense for me to even talk about it if they said a human being, a lady found dead. That's the most important thing, not deputy governor or former or present. And so
all right, moving on.
It's a very sad development. I'm sorry about that.
All right, let's run. We have the Guardian newspapers next on our review line with the banner headlines that says call masking, sim boxing endanger national security. We have read as the government loses revenue from telecom sector to menace, and masking cuts volume of international calls by 59%, and NCC to unveil 3-digit short code to aid report on problems. All right, down here we have anxiety mounts over violence rigging ahead of Ekiti polls. With riders there, police deploy 30,000 personnel. We've seen that before. Up here we have, again, the Guardian shines at NIRA Award, backed industry recognition. All right, let's take this bold headline there, talking about our telecoms industry.
Yeah, I don't know what is SIM
boxing,
but I know what is call masking. Call masking is if you are receiving an international call, for instance.
It comes with
a local number. So what the telecoms companies have perfected over the years is this masking of calls to save them, that extra money they will pay for international calls that come into Nigeria. So they make a lot of money by masking those calls. In fact, they're actually, I'm sorry to say, they're defrauding, exactly.
But they say it endangers national security.
Clearly, because it affects national security, because you don't know where these things are coming from, and it's very dangerous, but only to the extent that the intelligence agencies monitor calls and, So it's dangerous, not just for national security, but even for us users. If you take calls, you don't know, sometimes you really want to know who is calling. So it affects transactions because some people avoid certain kind of calls, and it might actually be an important call coming from outside the country. So that's something that the NCC should pay very close attention to.
All right, I think we have to take this story on tankers menace. With recent cases we've experienced, residents, structures in grave danger as tankers, trucks defy Lagos government military order to quit bridges. And not just bridges here. I think I was thinking that what is happening in Abuja could be replicated all over the country, where tankers have a particular time they ply the roads, especially in morning hours when we have rush hours and evening hours. What's your take on this?
Particular reference to what happened recently where they busted and killed a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the basic problem is this idea of transporting petroleum products by road and using tankers. It's dangerous, and either way it creates a problem, whether it's in Apapa or wherever it is. That should be the focus, how to really find alternative means of transportation of those refined products. Because wherever, even here in Aguoka, within Oka, when the tankers go under the bridge in order to avoid the flyover. So you can imagine anything can happen, under those bridges. Now, even if they were to go above the bridges, if they fall off those bridges, so it's dangerous either way. The solution to that is really to stop that practice, either by investing heavily in pipelines, or the government must find alternative means of transporting. Otherwise, we'll have problems. It's not just parking on the bridges.
Is that not a tall order? Asking them to apply a particular time, wouldn't it be better?
Yeah, but what time is the better time?
When there is less vehicular movement.
When there's less vehicular movement, okay, fine. That's just a temporary measure. It's mere palliative. So if at night time and you're sleeping in your house and a tanker, loses control, and then, the same thing will still happen. Just that people will not be on the road, but you will be in your homes.
All right, so we'd like to thank you so much, Honorable Chude of Fodile, for coming on the show. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
We say thank you. Hopefully you're going to join us again some other time.
Hopefully.
All right, and that's the much you can take now on a newspaper review. Thanking you so immensely for being there. Join us at the other side of 8 for our discussion. segment.